The 1980s in Europe were bold, colorful, and full of weird little moments that have quietly disappeared. No smartphones, no internet, and definitely no streaming. Life moved slower, but it had its own charm. It was a decade where everything from family time to school supplies had a texture, something you could feel, hold, or hear. From cassette reels spinning to the rustle of paper bus tickets, the details mattered. Today, we're diving into 15 things from 1980s Europe that simply don't exist anymore. If you remember even 5 of these, you probably had one of the best childhoods ever. Before screens dominated everything, quiet afternoons were spent building tiny replicas of Spitfires, Ferraris, or even entire tank battalions. You'd lay newspaper on the kitchen table, open a box filled with gray plastic sprues, and get to work. The glue smelled like chemicals and adventure. Fingers stuck together. Paint ended up everywhere. And when the last decal was placed, you'd admire your work like you just built a real fighter jet. These kits weren't just toys, they were time machines that taught patience, precision, and pride. There was something therapeutic about the process, sanding the parts, reading the multi-language instructions, even using toothpicks to apply glue just right. It wasn't instant gratification, it was earned joy. Your mom or grandmother probably had one of these folded into a perfect square, buried at the bottom of her handbag. With a sudden downpour, out came the transparent plastic bonnet tied under the chin. Practical? Absolutely. Stylish? Not in the slightest. But when it came to saving a fresh perm or keeping curlers dry, nothing worked better. These bonnets were like emergency umbrellas, lightweight, reusable, and oddly satisfying to fold back into a square when the rain stopped. For many women, they were non-negotiable, especially during holiday coach tours or quick runs to the market. Public transport back then wasn't digital. You got on a bus, handed over a few coins, and received a small paper ticket. Conductors or machines would punch a hole in it, sometimes in a satisfying mechanical clunk. In some countries, you even had carbon copy slips. They felt more like a receipt from a secret agent than a travel document. Kids collected them. Some were color-coded. Others had times, dates, or zones printed on them. And if you were lucky, you'd get a conductor who made the punch feel like an event. There was no scrolling to see what was on. Every morning, the TV guide was tucked somewhere in the middle of your local paper. You'd circle what you wanted to watch with a pen and hope no one else in the house claimed the remote. Sometimes, you'd even tape a reminder to the wall. Friday evenings were special. The big shows were listed, and families would plan their night around the 8 p.m. feature film. The listings were gospel, and so was the frustration if the broadcaster changed the schedule at the last minute. Stationery in the 80s wasn't just practical, it was weird and amazing. Erasers shaped like strawberries or hamburgers, pencil toppers that looked like soda cans or donuts, and every one of them smelled strong. Not good, just strong. You didn't use them, you traded them, or kept them in a pencil case like rare treasure. These little novelties were currency in the schoolyard. You might trade a pizza eraser for a 2-flavor ice cream topper. And despite their scent, they rarely erased anything properly. But that didn't matter. Please leave a message after the beep. It was either a robotic female voice or your dad awkwardly clearing his throat. These machines used tiny cassette tapes to record messages. Some people recorded their own jingles, others just mumbled. And every now and then, you'd listen back and cringe at your own voice. You had to rewind them manually. Tapes would wear out. Messages got taped over. But in a way, those analog recordings felt more personal than any voicemail ever could. You came back from Greece or Yugoslavia, developed dozens of photos as slides, then invited family over. Out came the folding projector screen, the darkened living room, and the clicking sound of the slide machine. Most of the photos were blurry or upside down, but nobody cared. It was an event. Kids groaned, adults chuckled, and someone always brought snacks. It was social media before social media, only you couldn't swipe away when bored. In the Eastern Bloc, school uniforms weren't a matter of choice. Brown polyester jackets, red neckerchiefs, pins from youth organizations, everyone looked the same. Uniforms were itchy, stiff, and sometimes a size too small. But for millions of students, it was just normal life. There were rituals around them, inspection days, pinning ceremonies, and badges earned through tasks. Even washing them was a weekly family event. Before twist-off caps, your fizzy drink had to be opened the moment you bought it. Local kiosks or shops had heavy-duty bottle openers attached right to the wood counter. You'd hear a satisfying pop, grab a straw, and sip straight from the bottle before walking away. Some shopkeepers would even hand you the drink already opened. It was part of the transaction. You never questioned it. It just made sense. They clanged in your backpack and never closed properly, but everyone had one. Some had built-in sharpeners. Others had sliding compartments or hidden rulers. Decorated with race cars, cartoons, or pop stars, they were as much a fashion statement as a tool. The compartments always broke eventually, but you'd keep using them, storing secret notes, collectible erasers, or even your lunch money inside. Especially in Eastern European cities, loudspeakers weren't just for emergencies. You'd hear them in schools, train stations, even public squares. Crackling announcements about train delays, school schedules, or patriotic messages would echo. Across the city, sometimes they played music in the morning, marching bands or folk tunes. Other times, it was total silence, followed by a sharp and an official update that startled you in the middle of the street. Before sneakers became disposable, shoes were meant to last. And when they didn't, you visited the cobbler. Tiny workshops with the smell of glue and leather were everywhere. They'd replace heels, resole boots, or patch up your only good pair for a night out. These weren't chain shops. They were family-run places, passed down through generations. The cobbler knew your shoe size by heart. Buying clothes off the rack wasn't always an option. People made them. Elderly shopkeepers would measure out fabric, count buttons, and hand you patterns. You'd wait patiently in line, then carry your fabric home to mom or grandma to get to work. The sewing machine was a staple in every home. It clicked and hummed in the evenings, transforming loose fabric into dresses, curtains, or even Halloween costumes. You stepped in, dropped a coin, sat still, and hoped. 4 flashes, 4 blurry photos, and 0 second chances. Eyes closed. Tough luck. That was your passport photo for the next decade. And somehow, nobody smiled. They printed on grainy paper, with uneven borders. But they had charm, a slice of you, exactly as you were in that fleeting second. If you lived behind the Iron Curtain, getting your hands on a Beatles album or the latest American film was a full mission. Bootleg cassettes, VHS copies passed from friend to friend, radio signals caught late at night. There was no streaming, no next-day releases. Just anticipation, patience, and the thrill of finally getting that tape. Sometimes, films were dubbed by a single monotone voice. Albums were incomplete, lyrics mistranslated. But that didn't matter. You still danced, watched, and remembered. If this video brought back even one memory, you're one of us. Nostalgia isn't about living in the past. It's about remembering what made it special. So if this made you smile, click that like button and subscribe for more journeys through time. Only here on Europe Before.